that, we'll send it out to the voice of the Atlantic City Blackjacks, Nick Kosko. Nick, for your final appearance, at least for a little while here on the show, tell us how you're doing on this Saturday morning.
Yeah, doing good, PT. Unfortunately, the season's over, but I got to look forward to 2020 and just got to gear up again for what the fall's going to bring.
So, win is a loss. A win is one of those things I keep talking about. And the game against the Brigade, 35-28, they lose that final game. But the big story out of that one is 6,266 fans in attendance. I mean, that I was blown away. I legitimately thought that in a meaningless game that the attendance would actually drop. And if anything, it picked up from the Seoul game.
Well, I'm glad a lot of fans at Bulwark Hall decided to prove a lot of people wrong about this football team. Yet it was easy to kind of say, well, the attendance was average and it needs to get better because of the 3-game homestand they had earlier in the season where it was 4,000 and like 4,200 and I believe around 4,500. So it's easy to say that considering the home opener was over 6,000, but then you get that game against the Seoul, you have over 7,000 and over 6,000 in the regular season finale against Baltimore, despite it being a meaningless game, and also both quarterbacks being hurt. You have to bring in 2 new quarterbacks earlier in the week, and the product of the field, obviously it was a little tough to put out there just because it's a quarterback-driven league. But just like the NFL, probably more importantly in the AFL, it's considering you lose not one but 2 MVP caliber type quarterbacks. And you have to go down like that. But I give it up to the fans. I'm glad they were able to basically, I would say, quote-unquote, fill the arena in terms of the lower bowl and whatnot. And they were excited for the game on Sunday. And I think it shows a lot of progress and a lot of promise for 2020.
So those 2 quarterbacks, Havrilla was the one guy that came in, Dennis Havrilla. What was your impressions of the 2 guys that played?
Obviously, Havrilla struggled a bit. He did throw the 1 touchdown pass, which was good. Kind of got the crowd back on their feet and got the offense rolling again. But the sequence at the end of the first half was very tough. If people recall watching or listening, they heard 97-3, they would know that at least Coffey and I were dumbfounded about what happened at the end of the first half, considering they had the ball inside the 1-yard line. They had 3 cracks at it to get into the end zone. They were untimed downs. They kind of threw a Hail Mary type play, and Antoine Grant got down inside the 1-yard line as the clock expired at the end of the first half, and then all of a sudden there was a penalty. So they ended up having an untimed down. But then, penalty after penalty, they had 3 cracks at it into the end zone from inside the 1-yard line. They couldn't punch it in. That was really that's pretty much all she wrote for Havrilla, and they brought in E.J. Nemeth in the second half, and despite his unorthodox style, the guy got it done, and he threw a beautiful rainbow type touchdown pass to Grant late in the game, and he was making some good throws and kind of got the offense back rolling into it. Just unfortunately couldn't do enough, and he threw the pick at the end of the game. But that's what you get. Again, you bring these guys off the street that were not in the league all season long, and it's tough to get them acclimated that fast. But my hats off to Coach James and offensive coordinator Shane Stafford for getting those guys ready. And then obviously the defense played extremely well. So again, hats off to Sergio Gilliam and Cesar Rayford for getting that group ready too as well.
Nick Kosko with us, the voice of the AC Blackjacks, as we recap their season finale. They fall to the Baltimore Brigade, finish up the season with a record of 4-8 of their first season, but did it in front of over 6,000 fans, 6,200 in fact, and had a nice crowd at Boardwalk Hall to finish things up. So, Nick, it does seem to me, as you described that series at the end of the half, and, it's funny because it's been a couple days, so my brain drifts, but I was in that end zone, watching that, where there was the flag for roughing the passer. They were basically gifted another untimed down. You have to score there, and I guess the theme that I'm going to take away from season 1 of the Blackjacks is most of these games are going to come down to one possession. You don't know when that possession is and which that possession is going to be the game changer. But in this case, it was the possession before the half that gave, Baltimore the 14-point lead going into half, and then AC never able to fully get back.
Yeah, and again, in the last game of the season, again, meaningless game. It was kind of just throw everything you have at it, just hope something sticks. But if you look back on the season as a whole, most of these games were one possession games, and that's what is actually surprising me: the fact that there was no overtime games from anybody in the entire league this year, considering a lot of these games were close. And for Atlantic City, aside from the second Philly game out at the Wells Fargo Center, and I believe the first Albany game where it kind of got away from them. And but that's pretty much it. They only really got blown out in 2 games. Every other game was a win or a loss, which was close. So if you look at it that way, they were in every single game. And you go back to the first Philly game on the road in week 1. That was a one possession game, and they had a chance to go up by 3 scores in that one. The second Columbus game on the road, they lost by 4. The second Albany game on the road, they lost by 2, and Albany ended up being the number 1 seed. That was the highest scoring game of the year. So you look back at some of these games, and plus the first 2 games against Baltimore, which they won. They won by 7 points, and they won by a blocked field goal. In the second one, so they only won by a point. So a lot of these games can go the other way. But if you look at it from a positive standpoint, the Blackjacks, they do have a talented football team. Obviously, the quarterback injuries came at a bad time, and the defense kind of got banged up at the end of the first half of the season, and it kind of affected them on that 4-game road trip. So you look back on it and you say, all right, well, if X, Y, and Z go together, this team is probably around, I would say, 7-5 or 8-4 at the end of the year instead of 4-8. And you're talking about this team in their first year in the playoffs. But it's football. We know that. We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in college. You're going to see it in the AFL too. So I would say as long as they have a healthy quarterback next year, whether it's Hippert or Smith, and then all of a sudden this team probably is a 7-8 win team next year, 9-win team for all we know, and is in the playoffs to contend for an Arena Bowl.
All right, Nick, let's have a little fun. So your first year covering arena football, your first chance to go on the road to some of these different venues, best press box or best radio booth to call a game?
It's tough. I don't want to throw Philly under the bus, but they are doing renovations, so that one was a little convoluted. Let's say, so we're going to cross off Philly. I would cross off Albany. Man, that's tough because I love our own booth in Boardwalk Hall. I know we're a convoluted press box in Section 306.
Right, to call it a press box is generous, but your view is good, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I would say best view has to be our own. I know it's our own home venue, but I love the one we had at Boardwalk Hall this year. I know it was our press box is kind of makeshift right now until there's some improvements for next year. But I loved our booth at Boardwalk Hall this year because the view. I mean, for section quote unquote 306, we're not really in the nosebleeds, so
right.
I loved our view. That was the best place to broadcast from my standpoint at least. But Washington. Being in there, that was they're just like Philly. They have basketball and hockey in there for the Capitals and the Wizards. So that was a nice press box, way up top though, but a good one. Let's see. And we didn't go to Baltimore this year, so I can't give an opinion on that. But I gotta say, aside from our home arena, Boardwalk Hall, I gotta give it to Columbus.
Baltimore's building is old, like Boardwalk Hall, but it may not be as cool. Yeah.
No. Of course, I'd have to give it to Columbus, Nationwide Arena where the Blue Jackets play.
Okay,
that was a gorgeous arena, and the press box was state of the art up there too. So I gotta say, aside from Boardwalk Hall, I'll give my hats off to little Mark Tribble reference. I'll give that to the Nationwide Arena in Columbus.
You can always have a Mark Tribble reference on a Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, let's close with this. What's the most memorable sporting event you have ever attended?
Well, you're having me out for the Blackjacks. I gotta say one of these games, of course. Come on.
No, you don't. Look, I know they sign your paychecks, but the most memorable sporting event, there's got to be something bigger than an Arena Football League game.
The most memorable sporting event I've ever attended. I would say it'd be it's gonna be. This one's tough. I would say it's a tie.
All right.
Close to a tie, but I'll have to give you 2 because it's they're both in different attendance aspects. one I actually just attended as a fan. It was I gotta say the Eagles game against the Falcons. It was that divisional playoff game the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. It was just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I got to attend that first Eagles playoff game, and that was the first playoff game I've ever been to. So that was insane.
Yep.
So the crowd, nobody sat down the entire night.
That's right.
So obviously, when they stop them on 4th and goal, they win the football game. One where I attended, but I actually broadcasted in college was the. I take that back. It has to be Rutgers Wrestling. Just this past March, I was there in a guest broadcaster capacity, also covering it for print. And I witnessed 2 national champions for Rutgers Wrestling this past March.
Nice. All right, Nick. Well, listen, we've been appreciative to have you on covering the Blackjacks. Obviously, we're just keeping your seat warm here, Hunter is. But stay in touch, buddy, and enjoy your time off a little bit. And we'll get back with you when we have more Blackjacks news.